All right, you guys, this week's video is on stippling. This is part 2 of your shading assignment. Stippling, shading basics, tips and techniques. So stippling is a shading technique that uses small dots or marks to create value. Place the dots close together to create darker value or spread them out to create a lighter value. Very similar to the hatching and the cross hatching lines that we did. If you want your value to be darker, add more dots. If you want your value to be lighter, add fewer dots further apart. Okay. There are a range of stippling styles. Experiment with your mark making and shading. So standard stippling looks like this. Large dot stippling, so just using a larger pen tip. Circular stipple, plus, so just a bunch of plus marks or X's. Curved stippling, the V. Pattern stippling, so some are filled in and some are empty. And tick stippling. Mix and match different types of stipple marks. Stippling is often combined with other types of shading to enhance its effects. Stippling techniques can also be used in painting, but is referred to as pointillism. So little tiny dots of paint very close together is called pointillism. All right, so to continue this stippling worksheet, up here, it asks you to mix and match stippling styles in the image below. So you'll mix and match, meaning you'll do maybe standard, maybe you'll do the X's and the pluses, a pattern, just mix and match. For me personally, I would probably stipple with a curve. That would be one of my mix and matches, would be to stipple along the curve. Okay, and then when I'm done with that, maybe what I do is I go in and switch to, let's do like little pluses. I probably need a smaller pen, if I'm being honest. So one of the things you want to be careful with stippling is making sure that it doesn't look like you planted rows of corn or something, okay? You want to make sure that when you're doing it, it stays fairly random unless you are doing the curved one, okay? But for just regular normal stippling, keep it fairly random. That way it doesn't look like you, there's the tick one. Doesn't look like you were intentionally planting rows of produce. Okay, same thing here. This one except says mix and match stippling with other shading techniques. So for example, I might do stippling, but then mix and match it with hatching. So I'll put some hatching in my zigzags and do stippling in this part of the zigzag. All right, so you'll just mix and match. Try out the different stippling styles and label them when they are done. So you've seen me do the standard one, dots. I'm going to tell you, if you're doing that and you're making noise, it doesn't look good. You get all these weird little tails coming off of it, and you have very little control over it. The standard stippling versus the large stippling, you just need to switch pen sizes. So if you're using a marker, switch to a ballpoint pen, or a fine point Sharpie is nice to work with. This is one of the pens from my other video that I used. Okay. The other one you want to do are the circular stipples. So you're just doing lots of circles. And then I would use the fatty Sharpie to go in and fill those in. Plus or X stippling, so same thing, lots of pluses or X's. I like making X's. I feel like they flow a little better. Curved stipple, you guys saw me do that on the pumpkin where you're just curving. I can probably switch to this one. It's easier to see, I'm sure. Just keep going. Okay. Then V's, same thing, lots of V's very close together are going to give you a darker value. V's farther apart are going to give you a lighter value. Pattern stippling, just like this one, some that are empty and some that are filled in to create a pattern. And the last one is tick stippling. So just lots of lines very close together that are going to give you a darker value than little stipple lines that are further apart. Okay. Create your own value scale using stippling. So this one is like our hatching and our cross hatching, where when we do lots and lots and lots of dots individually placed close together, you're going to get a darker value. Whereas over here, you may only have 3 or 4 dots. And this one, maybe it's like that. Okay, so you're just adding more and more and more and more and more dots to create a darker value, fewer dots for a lighter value. Okay, and if you're redrawing this on your sketchbook, don't worry about doing this. If you watch the video, you know you do not have to do that. Okay, so there's your value scale. It should look pretty close to this. If you're using a thick Sharpie like this one, it'll be a little bit more like that. Okay. As always, please come to office hours. Do not email me if you have questions.